And then it all slowed down. You could see individual trees and each of their branches, and the leaves that hadn't fallen, and the sky seemed more solid. Your neighborhood was already in reach. It had been a whole journey in the morning, walking with Chi and Tamarack. That trip only took a few minutes driving with Charlene and Tamarack again. Charlene parked at the end of the road right in front of your house. There wasn't a garage to use, but it didn't really matter if you parked on the street. You couldn't block the path if you didn't go anywhere else. You, her, and Tamarack got up and stood around together on the sidewalk. Thanks for driving, Tay's mom. You can come to my house now. Yes. A lot had happened since she talked about that in the classroom. Still, Tamarack kind of forgotten the plan she made. I forgot about that, actually. If is it to the Bauman household? Am I invited too? I guess, why not? That's right, your Charlene hadn't been there when Tamarack could come up with what you'd do after school. It's funny seeing Charlene ask permission to go over to somebody's place. She was the person who was supposed to decide if it was okay to do something or not. But your mom was nice. Yeah. Thank you. I had been hoping to meet the rest of our neighbors, but I waited for Tay to be here before making those rounds. Lead the way, Tamarack. Tamarack would have tried to do that even if Charlene didn't ask her to. The wannabe leader spun around to change direction and marched down the sidewalk towards the big gray house next to yours. There was no way you'd let her take the lead. You stuck right by her while your Charlene went along after you both. As Tamarack got closer, her pace got faster. The steady strut had turned into a speedy skip by the time she'd reached the porch. She was eager to get home, or she wanted to make sure she arrived there first. It caught you off guard, and she pulled ahead. Tamarack smacked the doorbell and held it all the way down with her whole hand. It wasn't the kind of doorbell you had to press over and over to get it to work. As long as she pushed it in, a deep chime rung through the halls. Ding dong, on and on. Tamarack squeezed the doorbell under her tiny hand. It wasn't going to stop. Trying to act like the parent she was and spoke down to the other kid, hearing a reassuring voice. Yeah, I think it's okay. You can let go. She understood appropriate behavior in the grown-up world better than an elementary schooler could, and that wasn't it. But all the suggestion got was the same knowing assurance right back. It's okay. What if Omi's asleep? We'd be trapped outside forever. Tamarack was an adult, but it was her house. She knew the rules, and for all you knew, she might have gotten to make up the rules herself. She was so amazing. Maybe, but... While your Charlene self tried to urge Tamarack to free the crushed button, the bell kept going, and the door opened. Your nose realized that it had happened before even your eyes could. It had gotten blasted with a perfumey smell so fast, like a human-sized spray of air freshener went off. Damn! The person who answered the nonstop call of the bell was a lady with long, pale blonde hair, going almost all the way down her back. Okay, Granny, I see the fit. Got the all black with the golds, and then the white hair. Her nose was tiny. That must have been how she lived with the smelliness. She was smiling gently. Just about every part of her looked flowy and delicate. Only one thing was different. Her necklace. That was big and gold and seemed like it'd be pretty heavy. Maybe she needed an anchor to stop herself from blowing away in the wind. I'm here. Welcome back, young lady. My, and you've brought guests. Hello. Tamarack finally slipped her hand off the button. She needed to wave. Hi, Omi. Hello, good to meet you. I'm Opal Holton. This is my son, Tay. The two of us recently moved in. We arrived only yesterday. Ah! Her voice, which was another fragile thing about her, strained in a high-pitched exclamation. I thought that was you. I'd heard you were coming, after all. That's why I swept up the porch and left the welcome mat. Oh, that was you? I appreciate the gesture. Yes, it was my little way of greeting the newcomers to our quiet streets. You had known the mat was out of place in front of the worn house, and the mystery was solved. This time the culprit was Tamarack's family member, rather than Tamarack herself. Miss Bauman chattered on like leaving people unexpected stuff was nothing normal. Okay. My name is Dorothy. Tamarack is my only granddaughter. Her father is my only son. I do have a husband, Ernest. He's still alive, but I ought to introduce him to you myself. Lord knows he won't do it on his own. She pressed the top of her hand to her forehead, craning back. The dangles of her necklace clinked against each other. Miss Bauman acted very tired. And it probably was an act. You had to think so, since she sounded amused. It was like having a hard time was how she had a good time. If you see a crotchety old man wandering about, that's him. Don't you worry, he's not mean, even if he looks it. Just remember that Mr. Bauman is more afraid of you than you are of him. It's good to meet both of you, Opal and Tay. That part of her introduction wasn't for you and Charlene, it was just towards you. You can call me Grady. Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright. Whatever. I'm allowed to do that? I wanna, how come you're granny to some people and owe me to Tamarack? I wouldn't do that, you're not my grandma. Okay. She smiled at you, wide and welcoming. Meeting you meant getting a new grandson. Oh, me! Tamarack chimed in with a cheery, songful voice. She flapped both of her two long sleeves to draw even more attention. Tay is my favorite! The announcement caught everyone by surprise, including you, the person it was about. Miss Mama's eyes got way bigger than you thought they could with how they looked normally. I didn't know that. When did that happen? Yesterday, she said so, giggling, ruby eyes sparkling and rosy cheeks extra pink. Tamarack really thought you were her favorite. You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe it. That was so incredible. That was too incredible. That didn't make any sense. Tamarack was your friend, but you weren't sure she was a favorite one. That was what you thought about her too. Well, probably. I mean, that is nice. That was nice. You didn't even know what to do, though you did notice the way your Charlene was watching the matching happy expressions on Tamarack in your face. Miss Bauman was as enthused as her granddaughter and her favorite friend. Oh, please, come inside, I insist. We need to get acquainted. No one had ever insisted you see their house before, unless what Tamarack said at school counted. You guess that's why Tamarack was that confident about saying you could come over and why she told you to do it instead of ask. Her granny had the same attitude about people visiting. That would be lovely. Miss Bauman went deeper into her home, footsteps already echoing in the closed-off spaces. Tamarack bounded after her. Let's go, Tay. You and Charlie were followed behind Tamarack again, though this time it was her grandma who got to lead everyone. Charlene shut the door after herself. The outside cold wasn't invited. Oh, shit. Nice. Are these just candies left out? Oh, this is an old people's house for sure, bro. Look at this staircase. And this mirror. They only smell like old people inside the house. The air was stiff like it had gotten old, too. Alright, relax. There's no reason to be that like that, you know what I'm saying? A staircase went up and a narrow hallway went deeper inside. Huge flowers patterned in the paper plastered over the walls, when you could see the walls anyway. The hall was crowded with shelves and tables, and those were cluttered with more things. It was sort of like walking through a museum, with all the fancy pieces to see, but it also reminded you of a storage closet that was stuffed with things you had nowhere else to put. Maybe a closet in a museum. Though you didn't know any museum or closet that had colorful candies sitting in a worn silver dish the way this house did. Those were two kinds, bright see-through hard candies in see-through plastic wrappers, and pale taffies you couldn't see through that were twisted up in a waxy paper. Charlene passed by you, not even looking at the candy bowl. The side table it sat on was much closer to your height than hers. It was right in front of your face. I'm no thief, though. So I gave up. I'm gonna wait till somebody, like, asks me. Maybe, Tamarack will be all like, do you want some before you leave? And I'll be like, bet. And I'll take, like, a whole handful. Oh, hold on. Kept walking behind you, Charlene. Tamarack's granny showed the way down a hall, and through a big opening in the wall past that was the living room. Or through there. Or not. When Granny crossed the rug that was also flowered and sat down on a smooth green chair, she didn't call it that. This is the drawing room. I come here and I sit on my throne and entertain our guests. I'm sorry, I got the wrong voice. You can take a seat, but do be careful. These are antiques. Tamarack just hovered around the table. Hearing adults talk was one thing, but sitting down and doing nothing while listening to it was asking for too much. I'll look around. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a nosy kid. Tamarack and you did not agree with Miss Bauman and Charlene on what was fun to do when visiting. Charlene settled into a couch cushion and leaned against the armrest to get even cozier. No one had taken the warning about antiques very seriously. Miss Bauman didn't say anything over that, though she did go on to say many other things. The two ladies talked about each other and their kids and grandkids. He was tired. He found out her husband was supposed to be too, she said, with a strong opinion on the matter. He's been taken out for dinner or lunch or something else. People could pick his brain for advice casually. Simply didn't sound like such a cool thing, but really it wasn't. It was because of that you started paying attention to the words shared between grown-ups closely. Still talking. It's as if these people think half the town will fall apart without him. Oh, he was in construction work, remodeling, refurbishing, repairs. I see, a very apt comparison then. They both laughed, though Charlene's polite chuckle didn't compare to Granny's hearty cackle. Now it's true that there's always something or another going wrong somewhere. Golden Grove isn't as young as it used to be. But there's only so much he can do when he's as aged as those derelict buildings themselves. The opening and slamming of a door followed her declaration. For a second everyone stopped. Did Granny's description insult the house itself? No. Heavy steps came after the bang, and then a man you never see passed by the opening in the hall. Opa! One hand gripping the armrest and the other cushion swinging out towards you, Charlene, Miss Bauman lifted herself off the swirly pattern cushion. That's him right now! Stop! You violated the law! Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Granny abruptly called out, as if she'd caught sight of a rare animal in the wild and needed the rest of the team to get over there while they had the chance. Though that wasn't right. Yelling would only scare the peaceful animal away. Instead, maybe she was trying to catch a shooting star before it disappeared for good. Damn! This family looked good, bro. I thought this family would be a lot older and, pudgier looking. Except that one didn't work either because Mr. Bauman was able to make the meteor still. Mr. Bauman stood suspended in space, silently staring through the wall hole in the drawing room. Tamarack's Opa was very gray, his full suit, his dull shoes, and his short hair. What was mysterious were his eyes. They might have been gray too, or maybe you were tricked by all the other grayness and they were actually blue. He pushed his hat higher up on his forehead with a large hand, slow and steady. Afternoon. Afternoon. I don't know. What do I want to do for his voice? Afternoon. I think something like that. Hearing his voice cemented an impression that had started to build in you. It was a slow, grumbling noise. The tone sounded as his scratchy beard and bushy eyebrows must have filled. And colorless and rough was basically a stone statue. Hi, Opa. This is Tay and his mom. They're the people in the other house. The neighbors. Mr. Baum mumbled briefly in response, and his eyes shifted away from the seating area. He wasn't talking about the news, but you got the impression he was thinking about it. Good day. He turned his body to match the new direction of his gaze. Fine. Go hide in your cave. We'll be here if you decide to join us after all. Miss Bauman showed her surrender and quickly lowered herself into the chair again. Dinner will be ready in a couple hours. You at least can't miss that. Mr. Bauman made his escape without looking back. He probably couldn't miss that if he tried. Where were we? I remember Tamarack's grandpa had only said a few real words. You can count them on his hand. Granny had to have said 100,000 times more than more to go. Talking to, and you couldn't tell she was ready to be done. She had her listening face on, not her how soon can I get the stop expression. Can I go play with Tamarack or something? Can we like go outside or some shit? Yeah, let me go find out some more stuff. Charlene looked at you instead of one of the three bombmen. She hadn't forgotten you were there too. Oh, Tay, are you fine staying longer? Like a sleepover? A couple of things I'd like to discuss with Miss Bauman while I can. I guess you had any adults. Tamarack still did enough to distract them all. Since her grandpa left, she'd been staring at the window and doing the thing where she bumped her bags around. She used her hip instead of her butt this time. With the granny daintily placed her hands in her lap, she really did look like a queen on her throne. You had to wonder, was she a kind queen or an evil queen? Why don't we let the two of your young friends play in the backyard while... Yes! While us old folks stay here to talk, please. You wouldn't go far, would you, Tamarack and Tay? And we'd come get you when it's time to leave. Would that be acceptable, Opal? It was weird to have somebody call Charlene by her name, even if it was her name. She was Charlene. That would be great. Excellent suggestion. His back stopped jingling. This is the only reason you heard her intent whisper. Come on, Tay. Neither of you had officially been given permission to leave before she zoomed out the room, around the corner in the same direction. Her Opa had vanished too. He hadn't been the only one who wanted to get away. He bolted after her, making sure to dodge obstacles in the unfamiliar house. Luckily, they were all pushed against the wall. One place clear of clutter was straight down the middle of the hall. Don't run in the halls, please. Knowing well that the warning wasn't going to change anything, Miss Bauman sighed in resignation. Fine, no one listens to a word I say. Past the living room, there were doors to unknown places and another hole in the wall that went to a kitchen. The two of you scrambled towards the end of the house where there was a back door. Tamarack yanked it open and bounded through. Your turn was next. A couple uneven wooden steps led from the house to the ground. They were bent inward, like after being pressed down so many times they stayed sunk. You didn't add to that pressure because you jumped clear over them into the fresh, freezing air. Invisible ribbons of perfume blew off your clothes, unable to stretch past the doorway. You hit the ground and could smell the dirt. Just like Chiyu's backyard, Tamarack's house had no fence around it. There was no way to tell when the yard stopped, and the forest began. It was even more impossible to see where the forest ended. It might go forever. For forever. That was all that was the same for the two places, though. Instead of Chiyu's secret hideout, there was a fancy table with two chairs that looked like it was there for Tamarack's grandparents. And hanging from a thick branch was a rope-strung tire swing. That part of the place had to be for their granddaughter. Woo! Tamarack hollered a cry of freedom and slipped down the small stone path, never touching a blade of grass. She hefted the messenger bag over the shoulder, chucked it aside with a thunk, and flung herself through the hole of the tire. All you could see of Tamarack were her little legs kicking up in the air and her arms spreading out past the width of the tire, so she was floating. The swing slowly twisted on its rope until it brought her eager face around. Hi, Tay. You grinned at her and went over. Tamarack's upright legs snapped down and she plunged the tips of her boots into the soft earth below. Supposed to stop the tire from doing another spin, except she couldn't stop it all the way. The turning swing twisted her to the side. Tamarack held firm, jerking futilely in the tire to center it again. Then that meant she couldn't keep talking to you. She happily explained how it all came to be. Omi and Opa got this just for me. They're too old to use a tire swing. Sure to her amaze. But then she wiggled her body and dug her shoes even harder, trying to get out. Let's play something. Wait, I can get into... Wait, I can sit on top. Wait, I can push you. I could try pushing her. So if I can give her more help before she could... I don't want to play anything. I'm gonna push her because I feel like it. You firmly knocked the swing, you got a running start and gave it a huge shove. You grabbed the tire and walked back to pull it high. Oh yeah, here we go. Ready? Then you dove out of the way. She screeched giddily while you let go, and her legs went up again. There was no reason to stop the swing from going somewhere. You chased after the tire to keep pushing it, so you never stopped seeing her face no matter how it moved. The two of you giggled as Timrak swung back and forth. The excitement of the swing eventually settled. You breathed in deeply through your nose. The air stung just a little, but mostly was nice. Timrak wasn't talking or laughing or squealing like she normally was, and the two of you were alone together. That also didn't happen a lot. If you wanted, you could ask her something you've been wondering about. How come you don't ever call me Tahoe? I'm like, I was wondering why you never call me Tahoe. Yeah. You and Tamarack had known each other for almost 2 whole days. She said your name lots of times by then. Just couldn't figure out why she didn't ever say Tahoe. It's okay if you use it, everybody does, except my Charlene. Maybe you didn't remember. I remember, but you told me your name first. It seemed like the most important one. Omi is Omi, and Opa is Opa. Chiyu is Chiyu, and Tay is Tay. If there's a best name, why would I say something that's not the best? I can use a nickname too, if it's just as good. Both are good for me. Both are good, yeah. You're welcome, Tahoe. She said your nickname brightly with special attention to extra prove she was good with what she wanted. You felt all warm and fuzzy having her call you Tahoe and do it like that. Then Timrak wriggled around again. Shot out the backside and landed in the grass on her butt, but Timrak immediately sprung to her feet and began to move further away from the swing. Something was happening, or was about to happen. You went off the path to go after her. She pressed her fisted hands into her hips and spoke about turning around. Timrak's hair fluttered animately with each word because she nodded while talking. It made it look like a fluffy gold sheep was the one saying it. We better start soon, it's gonna get dark. Start what? Finding some good stuff. There's a lot of it out there, you know. She reached down to collect her big bag, hooking it around her shoulder like a normal. That's when she turned around and you were faced with Tamarack herself instead of the sparkly lamb side of her. Have you been to this place before? Not to this town. I only came here when I moved yesterday. But I'm from... It's definitely not... It's far. It's really far away. Yeah, we can tell her. Florida. But I'm from Florida. It's really, really far away. Really? That's amazing. And we're the same again. I haven't been here a long time either. But I've learned a lot already. About outside and everything. All the forests in the world are different. And some places don't even have forests. Like Florida. This one is great because there's mushrooms and rose hips and acorns and great rocks and more. I can show you good spots to find things since you're newer to this forest than me. Alright. You know what? Thanks, yeah. You're welcome. How's this lamp set up? There's a lamp on the tree. Is it like solar powered or is it like a wire inside the tree? Let's get to looking right now. Yeah. Together you and Tamarack began your treasure hunt at the edge of the forest. In bushes, in the base of the tree, under rocks, across low-hanging branches, around fallen logs, nothing was left unexamined. When Tamarack found something worth saving, she placed it on the widest, flattest stone in the path. That was to keep her fingers free to do more collecting. When you unearthed something worth taking with you, you left it in the lowest steep step instead. Your piles grew rapidly as the two of you dashed back and forth from the clearing near the house in the wilderness a few feet away. Just like in class, Tamarack was fully focused on squinting hard. She only ever stopped snooping to rub her tattered sleeve ends into her eyelids, then kept going. Maybe dirt wasn't getting in her eyes with how close she kept getting into the ground. Maybe bits of twigs too, since she wasn't afraid to shove her hand into the bushes. Leaves did get stuck in her hair, same as the first time you'd ever seen her. As time passed by, a shadow crept over the yard. An obscuring sweater pulled over the body of the earth as it got colder. Like Tamarac's own sweater, it had a few holes here and there that were easier to see through. You and Tamarack were forced to limit your search to those rare spotlights. It would be possible to keep doing it for much longer. You glanced over at her. Tamarack crouched in the grass, encircled by darkness and trees. She shone under a stream of pale evening sun. A few strong rays hit her back, giving the illusion of golden fairy wings. Something about the sight of her like that was something. You kept looking at her as she carefully dug out a mushroom to get it whole. You watched so close you didn't even blink once. When the mushroom was plucked, the spell was broken. You could finally close your eyes, though you knew the magic wasn't really gone. You could still feel its warmth deep inside of you. When Tamarack officially announced the end of her hunt, the day was reaching its end too. That was probably the only reason why she was stopping. You didn't mind stopping either. Your treasure pile was already big and varied. All that was left to do was gather it up. That was easier to think than to do. You struggled to get each one of the small, mostly round valuables into your grasp. Tamarack couldn't scoop everything in her hands at one time. Pebbles and rose hips rolled out of her grasp and off the stepping stone. Okay, we got a good bit of shit. That's good loot right there. That's good loot. That was close enough for an impatient kid. Tamarack rushed over to show you what she managed to find and carry. This is what I got. She nudged her hands full to bursting with wonderful things. Even nearer, an acorn dropped to the ground. Here, take whatever you want. That's yours, and I already have a lot of that. I know you have your own for yourself. You can take part of mine, so you always have things to give away. Maybe you want to share what you got and keep the ones I give you, something like that. Share with your mom, or my Omi and Opa, or anybody. That's the most fun part. Oh, that was the answer to a puzzle you hadn't realized you were confused by. Tamarack said she went out in the woods all the time. She must have found enough things to fill her grandparents' entire house. Her granny would definitely not like that. Yeah, she needed room for her own clutter. That was never a problem because Tamarack didn't hold on to the collection herself. She spread it out to everybody. Here's only if you take some of mine too. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. The exchange couldn't be done smoothly. Neither of you had free hands to pass to pick up the presents. Tamarack settled for dumping part of her pile over the stuff already in your right hand. Then you shook some of the finds in your left hand into her palms. When the trade finished, you had almost exactly the same amount of goods, but didn't feel the same. You knew that in one hand you held the treasures you found with your own effort, and in the other hand you were gifted from your friend. Both were important for different reasons. Still grasping a loose collection of forest finds, Tamarack marched off to the side, out of her backyard and into yours. Where are you going? Tamarack flipped around. She leaned towards you to put her whole body into the call. It's okay, I'm just going to Chiyo's house. Come on. But he's not there. She'd already resumed the advance across your lawn before you had a chance to react. Oh, I'll do it. You tiptoed after her. I don't want to go to Chiyo's house. Yeah, you can't go without asking. You only did that yourself accident, so it didn't count. Oh, it's okay. Wait for me. I'll be right back. Crunched through the long grass and a million leaves. She was doing it. Nothing could stop her. The sidewalk in front of the house was a big half circle, and the back of them curved like that too. Not being able to see her after she rounded the far corner of your house. Your ears didn't pick up the sound from her boots anymore either. You were all by yourself. I'd probably go after her. So annoying. You got abandoned by Tamarack while at her house. So I left you there. Hope she'll be back soon. Finally remembering your full hands, you glanced down. You'd been standing still with the treasures pulled in your fingers. The ones on the bottom of the heap were warm. It was hard to keep perfect cup shape, and there wasn't anything to do with them. At least not right then. You were going to put them on the step again, but realized it'd be smarter to put them in your bag. Be safe there, and you could take them home with you. So on the swing, might as well. Well, kind of. Mostly you flopped on the tire and let it drift in lazy sweeps. It wasn't fun, but you didn't want to have fun. That was impossible. For a while you squinted at the treetops through the dabbled light. You couldn't see much past that. Same as the sky itself, the thick forest could take up your whole view. It could be everything there was. But unlike the sky, the canopy was solid and almost in your reach. If you were an extremely tall adult, you might be able to touch it. That was another thing you liked about it. It wasn't some far-off thing that was barely real, like air. The forest was immense, but it was really there for you. And then all of a sudden, you weren't the only kid in the big, wide world anymore. The noise was the first part of Tamarack's presence that reached you, but Lucifer wasn't far behind. Tamarack came sprinting around the bend, kicking up a flurry of leaves behind her. Both her hands were waving in the air. They were empty. Tamarack got past the stone pathway like it was the first line to erase and crumbled into the grass, laughing. The gills turned into achy yips when she landed all the way down. Ow, 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 I found the rocks in my pocket. She laughed some more, and owed even more too, each one taking its fair turn. Why do you have rocks in your pocket? I thought you were gonna give them away. That's why you went to Chiyo's house, right? I gave Chiyo my things. I've still got stuff you gave me. Oh, thanks. Tamarack rolled off her side to settle on her tummy. She squished her big cheeks against her little fist, and she kicked her feet in the air. The rubber boots flopped around on her feet. He got the swing to stop and pushed out, then went over to where Tamarack was sprawled. She looked up at you, her smile puffed on the side like it did a lot. It was an invitation to join her below. You did, stretching out on the cool lawn right in front of her. Chiyo cleaned up trash, and now he was going to get a surprise from the forest. Tamarack had enough excitement for two kids. Tahoe, out of all the kids I know here, you're my favorite. It still surprised you that she said that. You'd heard it before a long time ago when you first came to her house. If she was going to say it again, you figured it would have happened way before, but she wasn't. What she wanted to do it then. She kept going. Came to the exact neighborhood almost at the same time and at the same age. You have fun outside, and I do too. I've never ever met a kid who was just like me. That's important. That's serious. Tamarack had started shouting, then sucked in the loudness with the breath, and what came out next was low. You had to really listen to now. You and me are gonna be friends forever. Okay. Those words were something more than a regular promise. More than a pinky promise, too. It was a swear. Not the kind of swear you get in trouble for, though. We're not just friends, we're best friends. It made you way too nervous to think of her that way, but that was nice to Tamarack. Both your very important friends. It was great. My favorite friend, too. Yeah, and Chiyo, too. He's also the best. Thanks, Tamarack. You're really nice. Hope so. I give answers to my close friends. And Chiyo, too. He's also the best. Chiyo is good. A thought jumped out from where it was napping in the corner of your head. You still had the airplane paper you need to give to Tamarack. Oh, this is a good time to do it since she wants to be best friends. It was lucky you hadn't left your bag inside and that you hadn't gone home before visiting Tamarack's house. You reached around and got to work. The backpack couldn't be unzipped all the way. Everything might fall out. You only made a hole big enough for reaching around inside. Luckily, the paper from Chiyo's special notebook wasn't anything like the homework from Miss Murray that was still in there. You didn't have to see to know it. You could tell just by touching. Tamarack watched you the whole time. There was a curiosity about her that was ready to turn into excitement at any sign of something interesting. Soon your fingers brushed against the thick page and you held on. You dragged it through the opening and brought it into the last bit of light. Ah, it's more of Chiyo's stuff that you dropped. Did you find it in a bush? No, it's the paper you made into an airplane. Here, you can have it back. Wow, I thought that was gone forever. Both her little hands grasped at you. Well, paper you were holding. Let the page go and it was in her grasp once again. She held it high in triumph. Her legs went up with it so she was balancing all in her belly. Reminded you of a funny pose seals did. You saw it in an animal picture life before. But after a second she was done and needed to put it away. Tamara yanked on the strap of her bag to bring it closer. Page was tucked under the flap without her unbuckling anything. That only worked because it was actually paper thin. She knocked the bag out of her face using the side of her arm. It plopped over with a thud and some jingling. Thank you, Tahoe. You don't have to thank me. Oh, too late. Tamara took a second to scrutinize the familiar page. Or might not have been very familiar. She probably didn't look at it too closely before transforming into a fine object. I don't think I've ever kept a paper just to keep a paper. I make them into planes or other shapes, or color over them, or throw them away. She stated each option surely and fairly. They were equally worthwhile choices in her mind. But since I got this paper, because you gave it to me, I'm not going to do that. Whatever she wanted to do, she could have done one of those normal things she did with papers, and it wouldn't bother you. The swing, the searching, the secret trip to Chiyu's house, each were complete, and at that point, you were pretty sure Tamarak's final plan was to stay right there until grass grew around her. It was that moment when a door creaked open and two smiling faces looked over the yard. Your Charlene and Tamarak's grandma came to get you. It was hard to imagine they really spent that whole time sitting in the living room. Hi, Tay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got to get going. Aw, bye, Tay. I'm gonna stay outside. Sending a smile to Charlene, you pushed yourself to your feet. Bye, Tamarak. Miss Bauman didn't even question Tamarak remaining laid out in the grass. She left her granddaughter there and guided her guests in through the back door and up to the front one. Why couldn't you have gone around the house instead of through it? It was too late to tell them that because it had already done when you realized it. Miss Bauman stopped in the entryway, opening the door and fitting herself into a rare opening between the furniture to clear the path. If Charlene kept going past her nice and orderly. On the porch, Charlene halted and turned. The hostess had moved to stand in the doorway so they were face to face. It was so good to meet you two. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other often. Good day. Of course, goodbye, and thanks for the talk. Miss Bauman nodded kindly and slowly pressed the door forward. Charlene waved until she was doing it to a plank of wood. The door was shut, then she let her hand drop and talked to you. Busy day, huh? But that was good. The words went high, a sound of relief, instead of low, which would have been real contentment. Instead of just something good happening, it was more like when you avoid something bad happening that was still good, but in a different way than if nothing had been at stake. Time to go. Except, before you left the Bauman porch, something made you stop in your tracks. There was a stranger strolling into the cul-de-sac, rolling a bike along with them. It was almost as long as the person was tall. This had a totally different impact on your Charlene. It pulled her forward. Oh, it's Mr. Lin. Uh-oh. Mr. Lin, like Mr. Chiu Lin? That was Chiu's dad. Probably. Could be an uncle, or a way older sibling. Look at this. Look at his... Oh, how young is he? This gotta be his older brother. He wore a pale green sporty jacket and also nice black dress pants. His hair was super neat, but styled in a fun way that most grown-ups didn't have. That kind of introduced you to him without needing to say a word. Mr. Lin, however, or whoever he was a real professional, but not all strict about it. Though, wait, why did your Charlene already know that? How do you know him? What? We've talked about him many times, and you know, Chiyu, that's his father, because she went over to ask, and they had that whole conversation. Okay, Chiyu's dad it was. That didn't answer your real question. You racked your brain for the past conversations your Charlene was talking about, nothing came up. Charlene? No, we haven't. Chiyu is the only Mr. Lin I've heard of. Confusion screwed up her face. She was as convinced that you knew as much as you were sure that you didn't. Wait, that's right. Suddenly she laughed and pressed a hand to her cheek. I never called him by his name to you. It's the real estate Oh! That's why. The real estate person? There's a Charlene pacing around in your old apartment getting excited whenever the real estate person would call with news played behind your ears. Eyes, not ears. That was Chiyu's dad on the other line the whole time. Seen his picture. He has a website, and we've chatted about over the phone. Yesterday was the first time we met in person. That's who I was waiting for to get our keys from. He arrived extra early, and he couldn't break away from some other appointment until the evening. He glanced away from your own parents to Chiyo. It was easy to see how the two were related. They both looked really pleased with themselves and the whole world, even when nothing was happening. Chiyo was definitely the cooler of the two, though. When he turned back to Charlene, she had a huge, encouraging smile on her face. Let's see over there. It'll be hard to move the bike for him to come to us. Tisha was split between gesturing for Mr. Lin to stop, getting you to go with her. One of her hands went up, the other way went down. Hello? Chiyo's dad reined in the moving bike and stood in place. Next, he waved. Hello, Miss Holton. What a coincidence running into you out here. Good seeing you again. It's nice to see you too. This is my son, Tay. So, he's the one. Hi, Tay. The real estate agent folds his arms and tilted his head down. The hair in front of his face fell away, letting you see him clearly. This is a big moment. I can finally introduce myself after hearing so much about you. From your mom, of course. But Chiyo had his own contributions. It feels like meeting a celebrity in person. Oh yeah, Chiyo told you himself. He talked to his parents about what happened yesterday. Mr. Lin knew things about you from two different people. Go to say hi. Hi. You're so cheerful. Then Mr. Lin adjusts his glasses at the topic of conversation. Welcome, officially, to the neighborhood. I wanted to come by, see how you were settling in, but I wasn't sure when it'd be a good time. Hoping to catch both of you. There's an unfamiliar car on the road. I'm guessing that's yours, but the house is dark. Neither of you look to be around. Yes, that's ours. I'm sorry you missed us. We were meeting the neighbors to the right. Tamara kindly invited Tay and me to her house. Dorothy and we had a talk, and we very briefly saw Ernest pass by. Don't apologize, that's perfect. If you get the chance to visit the Bauman's house, I'd say take it. And now you can come meet the other neighbors. Well, one other. You're already well acquainted with Chiyo, and we said our hellos here. Do you have time to swing by? Personally, I'd love to introduce myself to Miss Lin. She was really only answering for herself. Your Charlene asked for your thoughts before deciding on another meet and greet. Could we go see Chiyo's mom, Tay? Okay. Thank you. You can stop by now. That's great. Give me just a minute. Mr. Lin patted the handle of his bike, bringing attention to it, something he needed to deal with. He coaxed the set of wheels to move with an expert hand. He got it across the road, up the curb, over the grass, onto Chiyo's, also his entryway. Charlene gradually made the same trip. She kept a lot of distance between her and the real estate man, not wanting to risk even a slim chance of getting in the way. He weren't scared of a bike and went ahead of Charlene. Mr. Lin wrapped his knuckles in the white door of the red house. He busied himself during the wait by tapping the bike handle instead of humming a soft tune. Someone, though it was probably Chiyo's mom, opened it halfway to attend to a guest. The door was thrown open all the way the second the person realized who was there. Hello, honey. Hong? Did you lose your key? With an unapologetic laugh, Mr. Lin stretched past the bike's front wheel to greet his wife by kissing her cheek. No, I wanted you to come over. I figured this would be the quickest way. Our new neighbors are here. Miss Lin peered further on, and there were the neighbors, you and Charlene. Still staring ahead, Miss Lin stepped forward just in time to bump into her husband. He made a move to get into the fenced area of the porch. Miss Lin gasped, and the bike shuddered a metallic cry. Miss Lin hastily grabbed the seat cushion to steady it. She leaned to the right for her new attempt to pass. So did Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin settled on pressing his back to the little wall by the door while holding up the bike against himself. Miss Lin finally managed to shuffle by and reach the sidewalk, but not before muttering bashfully, Sorry, sweetheart. It's no trouble. Go on. Miss Lin let out a breath to recompose her normal self after the unintentional dance with her husband and her husband's bike. Her clothes were light blue, her hair was blue, too. Way darker, though. Whenever she lifted her legs to walk, the creases in her dress moved like flower petals in a breeze. There was something so peaceful about it. Even her voice drifted along gently. I'm Miss Elin. If you're the new neighbors, you must be Opal and Tay. Is that true? Yes, precisely. Charlene reached forward, offering a shake. Miss Lynn grasped Charlene's hand with one of her own and covered the top of it with her other hand. The two didn't exactly shake, really. They squeezed each other for a second. They were hugging but with hands. After Miss Lynn carefully unwrapped her fingers from Charlene, her gaze drifted downwards. Miss Lynn curled into a blueberry ball, bringing her chin to her knees. The edge of her spotless dress brushed the grass, but it brought her eye to level with you. Hi. She held up her hand for you to take, too. You never would have guessed that was going to happen. Most adults didn't act like you were a grown-up, or that kids could be treated the same way as a grown-up was. Yeah, might as well shake. Yeah, you happily shook. She didn't hold you in place and moved up and down with your motion. It is nice to meet you, Tay. Then she pushed off the ground to stand up perfectly, straight in one fluid motion. You'd seen how much Chiyu and his dad were alike because of their matching confidence. It was the same thing with his mom, except you need a little imagination to make the connection. Miss Lynn was put on super ultra fast forward. It looked a lot like how Chiyu treated people. But now you'd seen everybody who lived in the street, plus some extras. All the other kids were about your age, or 2 or 3 years older. For the adults, it was a lot trickier to put together ages, except that Tamarack's grandparents, they were absolutely the most old. But when it came to non-grandparent grown-ups, 2 of them could be 1 year apart or have a 10-year difference with almost no way to tell. 10 years was the length of your entire life. It was impossible to imagine having that much time just being adults. Your best conclusion was that Miss Murray would probably be the youngest grown person, and your Charlene and Chiyu parents were somewhere in the middle. You wondered how your Charlene felt finding out there were 2 people around her age, maybe in the neighborhood. Was that a big... Oop, return again. I right-clicked. Was that a big deal to adults, too? Was she going to make friends with them, like you did with Chiyu and Tamarack? I mean, maybe. Could someone her age be friends with people who had been around as long as Granny and Mr. Bauman, or did that not work? Grandparents were double adults, super adults. Charlene kind of acted like they were regular grown-ups, as respectful to them as kids had to treat her. But one way or another, Charlene was going to have to make a life in Golden Grove along with these people too. I'm sorry to be the last one in the family who came to meet you in person. Don't worry about that. Hong had a huge advantage, all things considered. Your Charlene quirked her lips good-humoredly, although Chiyu also beat you to it, and that was way closer to race. Oh, a joke. You teasy one even. Charlene made an attempt at being less professionally polite. You watched on at this adult interaction, wondering how to turn out. It seemed to go pretty well, because Miss Lynn laughed. He was very excited. There's never been another kid next door until now, when 2 have come at the same time. Tay and I have lived up to expectations. I like to manage a good impression on the magnanimous Chiyu Lin. The other Mr. Lin came over and joined the conversation, showing off his now free hands with a shrug. He had gotten the bulky bike into the porch jail before the mailbox, so he could stop pulling it around for a second. She had been out with friends since school ended, so we've yet to hear about what happened when he popped by your house in the morning. I'm certain the new neighbors, Miss Opal Holton, will get a glowing report over dinner. Thank you. I'm usually the one giving performance reviews. Who knew it was so nerve-wracking to be on the receiving end? Oh yes, terrifying. This type of humor your Charlene liked. Dealing with people was her whole job. She could pretend that it was something challenging. You didn't know she used mom well enough to be sure if that was a joke or if she meant it seriously. But you guessed anyways. She sounded actually scared of the idea. Plus, Mr. Lin went for an earnest answer instead of messing around. He had to know best. Ladies have nothing to fear. No one's going to give you a failing mark. Trust me. And I can already report that my son is extremely stuck on your son. Now that is wonderful news, because my Tay is over the moon about your boy. That was right. She and you were already great friends. The fellow neighbor you met spoke speedily, on behalf of the entire family. We'll have to give them plenty of time to nurture their friendship. Miss Lin slipped her arm around Mr. Lin. They were unified physically and legally, and in this opinion. I'm glad we're all on the same side here. Yes, that would be awesome and amazing and the very best thing. I need to apologize myself for cutting this introduction short. We have to get home. There's more unpacking to do before the day's over. I absolutely do want to speak more another time, though. Oh, that's fine. Yes, we understand completely. I imagine it's a big job, getting a new house in order. It always is, even when it has been left to collect dust. A bit. Luckily, it looks as if most of the furniture already there will be worth keeping, after good scrubbing and polishing. Is that so? Thought that'd be the case. It was quite a perk of the property. Seems they had good advice picking a location. That was said with a sly smile and a side eye to her husband. Miss Lynn had a streak of charm too. Thanks, honey. Miss Lynn put a hand on the back of his head and one in the corner of his glasses before leaning back to laugh. You want to make sure nothing fell off, you guessed. But if you do need help with heavy lifting, you're welcome to let me know. I'll call Yi. She was a gymnast in college, and she can do more pull-ups than me. Since dark eyes went saucer-wide, she couldn't get them back to normal size, so Miss Lynn slammed them shut instead. There was no way to get the rosiness of her cheeks. That was the biggest reaction you'd seen from Chiyu's mom so far. She was the one who started the praising. Oh, please, we should both help if it's necessary. Your mom got a chuckle out of the exchange, too. There you have it. The Lins are at your service. Thank you for the offer. Thank you for coming, Opalante. You're both welcome over any time. Goodbye. Good evening. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Lynn. With a come-along gesture angled your way, Charlene turned to leave. Two of you followed the sidewalk around to the center of the street. From there, you started up at the grand old building you were allowed to live in. Stared. It was yours and Charlene's. After walking down the road into town, attending the school, and visiting with the neighbors, this place was where you were returning at the end of a long day. A thought struck your heart as much as your brain. You were going to be seeing that view for a long time. Hell yeah. No matter how unfamiliar each sight sounded in person in the Golden Grove was, then one day it was going to be normal. That was exciting to picture. You could be like Chiyu, someone who knew the ins and outs of everything, someone who actually had memories and bonds with the place they lived in. As the world of your Charlene was trying to prove this would be a regular thing for you, Charlene didn't pause breathlessly as the welcome mat like she had the day before. She just took out the same black spiral keychain loop she had always used and picked one of the keys off it to unlock the door. Charlene put that house key on the coil. Guess so. Then she went in, not doubting that you'd do the same. You did. She hit the lights. For all the musing about normalness and regularity, when you glanced around the living room, it was a bit too familiar. Guess we're getting there. As long as you love me. I don't think that's how the song goes. That's what I was hearing, though. You've been at school for hours, seen and done so much while your Charlene was supposed to be here unpacking. So why did it look exactly the same? Almost exactly. The stuff you slept on had been put away. Still, there was the same mountain of boxes piled unevenly in a corner, the same sheets draped over the furniture. The dust you wiped down the night before was the only hint that you hadn't been transported back in time to when you first saw that place. She must have had other important things to do. Her stuff is still packed. You ask her, so you can show them, what were you doing this whole time? Damn, we just like grill her. You're really slow at this. Yeah, you know what? Tease her ass. Am I? Well, smart guy, there's something you haven't considered. A sing-songy cadence carried her leading words. It wasn't the living room I spent the afternoon making livable, and since it wasn't that, can you guess what it is? Was it your room? You're half right. That's not what I had in mind. However, I'm thinking of something much better. Your new room is ready for you. It's clean and dust-free, and I've already filled in some of the shelves. All you need to do is put on your bedding, make sure I didn't miss any of your things, and enjoy. Your room. Your room was there waiting for you. Charlene was the best. The amazement was clear on your face. Your mouth was wide open after all. It made you, Charlene, grin widely. Go check it out. I'll be in my own new room. I got a couple hours of work dressing that up, but it's not ready quite yet. Charlene's pair of cranberry eyes wandered around, taking in the current state of the first floor. Ideally, neither of us will have to sleep in the living room tonight. Okay, Charlene. Charlene kept walking together upstairs. In the hallway, your paths parted ways. The room was the one closest to the stairs. The main bedroom was farthest away. The room between those remained a mystery. You never lived in a house with that extra space before. The apartments from before barely fit two of you. Anything was possible now, though. Grasping the cool metal handle, you pressed down the knob, twisted until it was pointing straight to the floor, and it was kind of stuck. You had to give the door a real push to get it free from the frame. Once it had gotten past the initial jam, it moved with ease. So you watched the tall door swing open, and then stepped inside. Oh shit! The decorating screen. Before you'll be able to add personal touches to your bedroom. The older you get, the more control you'll have over your space. Cool. As a kid in step 1, you can choose between different beddings and some smaller possessions like toys and decorations, furniture, overall arrangement, wallpaper, and so on can be altered in this step. Okay, let's do it. Let's check out the desk area. Books, bracelets, glowing stars. Not much of a music guy. We'll keep some books though. Cool. The bed 1. Ugh. This also is kind of cool. I get the like the roof access mirrors. That one could be cool. Nah. A helmet. I might go with 3, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I'll do a canopy. The helmet though I will keep there. Trunk area. Giraffe. Rabbit. Sheep. Clothes all over. Kickball. You know what? I'll be honest, bro. I do be having clothes all over the place. I'll keep that. And I don't really rock with giraffes. We'll take the giraffe down. I'll keep these guys. They're cool. Dresser and shells. Crayons. Stuffed bird. Oh, yes. A stuffed elephant. That's all we need. Hold on now. You know what? Knowing that exists, take these guys out. We don't need them. Absolutely, that's all we need. And done. It's the first day in this room I've already gotten messy as hell. Oh my god, my back. Your room was something any kid could be proud of. So happy, almost made you sad. Yeah. It's taken until nighttime to get your things just how you wanted them. You stepped into a corner to admire your handiwork. The floor space of the room was bigger than your last one. The ceiling was a lot lower, though it sloped with the roof of the house, and the windows were angled towards the treetops and sky. Thought you had something really special here. Then there was a knock and a voice. The tilting roof caught the sounds and directed them straight down into your ears. Tay, can I come in? She about to rip my ass up, bro, because I got this shit all messy. The handle jiggled and jerked. The door was resistant to Charlene opening it, too. She figured it out, though, and let herself in. Hello, dear. Not so discreetly, Charlene surveyed your efforts at decorating. Watched her just as closely, eager for someone to appreciate your room as you did. Left you alone here for an hour, and it's already getting messy, but you did unpack and make it your own. The room was great, Tay. Thank you. Yeah, I had to get my clothes out, you know. These are for tomorrow. It was a great room. Pretty much finished myself, but it's late. Let's take a break from that and chat. It's been a long day all around and back and forth. It lasted forever. I need a vacation, not a break. To disappoint, but we're not entirely done yet. Charlene pulled her folded arms in even more and more. and even more, and her mouth pinched too. We should talk about how things will be done once I'm back to work. I won't be able to drop you off or pick you up from the school most days. It does seem common for kids in this town to walk or ride bikes to class at least. Yeah, I'm down for walking. We Killua? Scooter? A scooter at 10? Nah, we had a skateboard type shit. That was another thing. Charlene made extra sure she got moved to the house. Although with your backpack, along with your backpack, she mustn't have known it could come in handy. It'll be up to you if you'd rather go on foot or use your skateboard. I'm sure your skateboard will work just as well as a bike. You gotta see the way there, and you shouldn't even be the only one left on the path. You weren't scared to do stuff without her, but you like spending time with Charlene. It would have been fun to go together at least sometimes. Well, she had to do her job. You just had different kinds of fun. Accepting the inevitable, you nodded. Alright, that's what matter attended to. Here's part 2. What to do after you make it back from school. You'll be done with your class a good few hours before I'm off the clock. Miss Ballman and I were talking while you were outside with Tamrak. She offered to keep an eye on you when away. She's retired and insisted to be no trouble. Okay. That can mean you go to Tamrak's house for the afternoon. Or it can be Miss Ballman popping in every now and then to check on you if you're playing at home or outside. Tamrak already adores you, so it's not as if she minds you being around regularly. Charlene held up her finger and kept it on with explanation. Of course, that's not the only choice. We got options. While I didn't get a chance to officially ask, I bet the Lynns would be equally fine if you wanted to hang out at their place. I keep hitting the... Okay. They're good people. I know Mr. Lynn decently well at this point. Plus, their son would certainly extend an invitation to visit whenever he wanted. He's sociable, and even I can see you're in with him. I can also look in the lessons and extracurriculars being offered in town. Some days instead of staying in the neighborhood. An instrument or learn how to dance, and I'd be able to come get you from there when it was done. It all sounds fun to me. Yeah. Looks like I don't need to worry. Use yourself as much then. Still, there's no reason to plan out the rest of your lives tonight. The two of us will figure it out. Never stop believing you and her would manage. For a moment, she gazed past you at nothing in particular. Sometimes it felt strange, remembering how you were actually there, when all the stuff you had to keep up with stopped and you could just think. Maybe your Charlene felt that too. She blinked and her eyes fell back on you. Charlene smiled. But our neighbors are certainly nice, huh? All 6 of them. We had a lot of luck here. Excuse me. Lucky couldn't even describe the incredibleness of what moving here brought. No words were needed for her to understand your thoughts on it. Your face said enough. With a grin, Charlene stuck her hands over her jeans. Now, if you don't mind me changing the subject to an entirely different matter, let me just say, it's dinner time. Yeah, as a reward for how much we've done, and because the loaf of bread is out at this point, and also because even if it wasn't, I do not want another sandwich. I'm taking the 2 of us out, for the local diner is a gem. Whoa! Then there's nothing else to discuss. Food it is. Visualization, what about Shio? I mean, not really. They're going to go do their own things. Let me have my time with my fam. I don't need to go talk to them. Bro, we literally hung out with Tamrak today, and then she was off hanging out with his friends. They made their choices. And with your Charlene and you, it happened basically every single day of your life, but it could still be new and interesting. Let's get going. Bring your hat and jacket, I'll get my scarf. It'll be chilly out there, and I'm starving. Same for you. Your stomach was a huge empty pit. If you didn't eat soon, it might stick in you. It might suck you in. You did everything you could think of doing before leaving as fast as you could do it. Then you were braving the unknown in search of sustenance.